The exchange of gifts between nations is a diplomatic tradition that has existed for centuries. The gifts may commemorate a specific event in history, the signing of a treaty, or a particular historical importance to a nation, such as our 1876 centennial. Gift exchanges transcend language and cultural barriers. They are given in the spirit of friendship and goodwill. Some gifts hold deep symbolic meanings to the people that have given them to us. The collections of the Anthropology Department at the National Museum of Natural History contain hundreds of diplomatic gifts presented to American presidents, vice presidents, members of the House and the Senate, and other government officials. These gifts, which range from the ordinary to the extraordinary, were intended as tokens of friendship towards all Americans. They belong to the nation, and the Smithsonian holds these gifts in trust for the American people. The earliest presidential gifts in the Department of Anthropology were presented by the Sultan of Muscat and Oman to President Martin Van Buren. The Sultan sent exquisite gifts to the United States. These gifts included Arabian horses, perfume, beautiful silk shawls, rugs, and pearls. The first state gifts presented to the United States came through the expedition of Commander Matthew Perry in 1854. Commodore Perry practiced traditional diplomatic gift exchange. He brought materials and gifts from the United States to be given to the people of Japan and the rulers of Japan. In return, he brought from Japan items that were given to President Franklin Pierce, other members of the exploring expedition, and members of Congress. They include beautiful lacquerware, swords, fans, objects of everyday life, including agricultural implements. In May 1860, the first Japanese delegation came to the United States to exchange the 1858 Treaty of Commerce and Friendship between the two countries. The treaty was the first Japan had made with any Western nation. The gifts given to President James Buchanan from the Emperor of Japan conveyed the hopes of continuing diplomatic relations between the Japanese and the American people. President Theodore Roosevelt received many diplomatic gifts during his tenure in office, from Japan, from Turkey, from Egypt, and Africa. He also received gifts from other sovereign nations, including the Zuni nation of New Mexico. Among these gifts that were presented to President Roosevelt were a prayer stick, a kachina doll, and a bear claw necklace. These items were given specifically to President Roosevelt as a mark of high esteem for Roosevelt as a great hunter of the cougar and bear. President Theodore Roosevelt was one of the first world leaders to recognize the Republic of Panama. His support allowed for the construction of the Panama Canal to begin, and when he visited the Panama Canal Zone in 1906, he received a collection of ceramic figurines, vessels, and whistles. One of the importance of these presidential and diplomatic gifts is the documentation that comes with them. They demark a particular time or a particular moment between our two countries, and they can tell us so much about the people, about ourselves, and for ethnographic or archaeological study, they can be critically important. Diplomatic gifts represent the efforts of sovereign nations to make real and lasting connections that can also bridge the gap between their culture and our own.